Yes, guys, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another live stream and welcome to the first midweek preview of the season. Yes, midweek games are now back in the Premier League and they will be back in the Champions League as well next week. So we've got plenty to discuss as always. Midweek's returned. Chelsea back to winning ways at the weekend against Leicester, face a trip to Southampton where I found out that we've not actually lost at St Mary's since the 2011-12 season. 10 years unbeaten there. So you know what's happening tomorrow. A fat L's coming our way. But hopefully that's not the case. But plenty to get stuck into. Quick reaction to the Leicester game. Bit of transfer news. And obviously looking ahead to the Southampton game. George, great to have you on board as always, bro. Obviously, we both went to the Leicester game. Didn't have a chance to catch up afterwards. Very briefly, mate, what were your thoughts on the game at the weekend?
Rode our luck a bit, I would say. I think the boys showed some good character. I think if we start with the positives, to be with 10 men for an hour and still manage to find a way to not score once but twice, and stay in the lead throughout the game, that's a huge positive. We didn't really learn an awful lot, I have to say. I think great for Sterling, another positive. Getting not one but two to break.
Well, he could have had that hat trick as well with the post shot.
Yeah. But I mean, two very well worked goals from his point of view. With the run and the first goal, I know he got a little bit of fortune with the deflection, but we didn't learn an awful lot. I think we still rode our luck a lot of the time. I think Vardy had a couple of very good opportunities that he didn't take. Where, to be fair to Mendy, he closed it down to basically make him hurry with the option, but they hit the bar. There was some very last minute defending towards the end of the game as well. We let them back in very cheaply. I don't know. We're so it's still very stagnated. Not a lot of creativity going forward. Limited chances in front of goal, I would say. But an enjoyable game. And, like we said at the start of the game, mate, I think the most important thing was to get the 3 points regardless of how we got them. And that's exactly what we did. So it's great to get back to winning ways. And I think I was a bit, I came away from that game thinking we haven't learned an awful lot other than the fact that we've managed to just beat a struggling Leicester side, which I don't know what that says about us at the moment, but I suppose the 3 points is the most important thing.
For me, as we said, the 3 points are the most important thing, but given the circumstances of the game and how long we had with a man down, I actually think we did very well, all things considered. Yes, they had opportunities, but you're going to get opportunities when you're playing against 10 men for over an hour. That's going to happen. You will create chances. I felt we did ride our luck, but you're going to have to ride your luck at certain points in matches and at certain points of the season. We rode our luck, and we held firm because how many times have we criticised, particularly myself, criticised the mentality when the going gets tough, we disappear. We aren't up for the fight. We don't have the stomach. I didn't see any of that on Saturday. I saw guys that put every ounce of effort into the shirt, every ounce of effort into the game. And to go 2-0 up as well in a game, could have been 3-0 with the post shot. I felt we did really well given the circumstances. And yes, we didn't perhaps learn an awful lot in terms of, we started with the 4 at the back, didn't really learn much about that because it only lasted for half an hour before the red card. But yeah, the character and the digging in and the mentality, the strong mentality not to fold in difficult times, that was a real positive for me to take forward. But anything else is very hard to judge because the game plan's totally out the window after half an hour. It's a completely different game. But all things considered, yeah, I thought we did well. And most importantly, after getting humbled by Leeds 3-0, the most important thing was just get back to winning ways, however it is, and just look to build on from there as we head into the midweek games, head into West Ham on the weekend and the Champions League starting the following week. It's a run of a lot of fixtures coming up now. So yeah, it was important to notch up the win at the Bridge. One thing I do want to talk about, mate, before we obviously move on to a bit of transfer news stuff, Conor Gallagher. Now, I know we've got slightly differing opinions on him as a player and on his future and whatnot. But what I do want to say is that, one, fair play to him for coming out and apologising afterwards on social media. You don't have to do that as a player. I think it's a nice touch. It's the right thing to do. But at the same time, what I will say is I think opportunities for him are going to be few and far between at Chelsea this season. He's obviously coming across, for me, a little bit too eager to impress. As a young player, you don't know how many opportunities you're going to get, and you're so eager to impress at every opportunity. I think he comes across like he's almost trying too hard. Like, I felt he played okay, to be fair to him, before his red card. He's going in for tackles. He is flying about a little bit, so perhaps a little bit headless chicken vibes I was getting from him. But you've got to remember, this guy's played 90 minutes of football for the Chelsea senior side. He's not playing in his natural position either. We make excuses, myself, yourself, other fans, we make excuses. Oh, Mount's not playing in his proper position. Oh, we shouldn't be playing from the middle. We make allowances for other players, but when it suddenly seems to be Conor Gallagher, it's like, oh, he's playing in a 6, which is not his position, and he's played 90 minutes of football. Suddenly, he's not good enough. Conor Gallagher might end up not being good enough for Chelsea, but since when did we start judging players after 90 minutes of football? There's people that are criticising Gallagher that stood by Timo Werner for 2 whole seasons, yet are kind of writing off Gallagher after 90 minutes of football. For me, that doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't sit right. Young players are going to make mistakes. Mason Mount would have made mistakes. Reece James makes mistakes. All these players make mistakes, but there seems to be different standards for different players. There's excuses and allowances for other players, but then when it seems to come to Conor Gallagher and perhaps lads from the academy, there's far less of an allowance. For me, it's just a complete double standard. Doesn't really make sense. But admittedly, the red card was poor. Too eager, poor game management, not reading the situations well. But these are all things that will come with experience. So I think he deserves other opportunities. I think he will get other opportunities, but he's got to realise that he's got to start taking these opportunities. Otherwise, he will stop getting them. But I mean, what are your thoughts on Gallagher? Obviously, I know Cucurella sold him short, but with the pass, and there was cover on. I think just a poor reading of the situation. But mate, I don't know if you've changed your thoughts, like you've calmed down a little bit, but you're quite convinced that you think Gallagher is even after this very short amount of time, you think that he's not right for Chelsea.
No, mate. He's honestly, like, I get all of those points and they're completely valid I completely get where you're coming from. I'm not going to say that you're wrong, but I just, just watching him, he just looks totally out of his depth. I think it's just a totally new level for him. And, people say, yes, he's only had 90 minutes of football for Chelsea, but come on, this guy's played Premier League football. He's not an idiot. Loftus-Cheek is you could argue that Conor Gallagher, a lot of people think Conor Gallagher's a better, more experienced player than Loftus-Cheek because he played so many games for Crystal Palace, whereas Loftus-Cheek's bouncing here, there and everywhere, didn't play for Fulham, on the bench for Chelsea. And yet he comes in, he's just chasing shadows. The first foul, debatable, but he's gone in reckless, and then tried to buy a cheap foul handling the ball on the floor. And then the second one, mate, it's just saying poor is an understatement. It's a moment of idiocy, really, to know that you're on a yellow card. I'm sorry, but he nearly cost Chelsea the game there. And for people screaming,
Cucurella has done him dirty with that pass big time.
Yeah, but I don't care, because at the end of the day, you just don't make a foul there on a yellow card. You don't. I'm sorry. I mean, unless you're prepared, maybe in the 80th minute you take it because you think it's probably worth it on percentages, but not in the 30th minute. And people scream for these young players to get an opportunity, but when you get given an opportunity at such a high level, like there's taking it, and then there's actually just for me, I think he's just not good enough for Chelsea, and I know that is incredibly, outcast considering we've seen him for 90 minutes in the Chelsea shirt. But I can't see it. I just cannot see it. I don't know what he offers that we don't have there already. He hasn't got. I just don't think he suits the way we play.
I would agree on that front. He's not a number 6. If you watched him play at Crystal Palace on loan, he was playing as a number 8. He's so good at arriving late into the box. Like, I'm not comparing him to Frank Lampard or anything, but like Lampard used to do, that arriving late from midfield into the box. With this pivot system, like it doesn't work in terms of it's not really his natural position. He struggles in there. It's going to take time to learn that position. It's probably a position that he's not played before. He might have played it in the academy and the youth setups, but Gallagher's very much a number 8, someone that arrives late in the box, gets goals, gets assists. We saw that at Crystal Palace, what he can do. But we've said it with a number of other players, that playing for Crystal Palace, even though it's Premier League football, the step up to Chelsea is massive. Teams will play so differently against Chelsea than they do against Palace, in terms of teams will defend a lot deeper against Chelsea, whereas they'll come out more against Crystal Palace. There's more spaces in behind. Like it is totally different, and it's going to take time for him to adapt. And he might not, as I said earlier, he might not be a success at Chelsea. But for people to be throwing him on the scrap heap after 90 minutes of football is for me, it's nonsensical. And you know what? Yeah, you could be right that he might not be good enough. But imagine if we just discarded every player after 2 games. Like
But it's what Chelsea
it's a
fans
dangerous
want.
thing. But I think we got to realise that success doesn't come instantly with players. Like imagine if like sort of Twitter and stuff was around and this kind of social media vibe was around when Frank Lampard first signed. Like, he would have been getting battered in his first couple of seasons. He wasn't that great. Even Drogba first couple of seasons. I know he won the league in the first season, but there were moments where like he wanted out. He wasn't playing very well. He went on long periods without scoring. Like, I think we're so quick to judge players these days. I've done it myself with certain players. You've got to give it time. You can't stand up for players like Werner and Havertz for 2-3 seasons, but yet suddenly after 90 minutes be judging Conor Gallagher as not good enough. So I think there's a fine balance to be had. As I said, Gallagher may not turn out to be good enough for Chelsea, but at the end of the day, I think he deserves more opportunities. And in terms of we might as well come on to it, mate. In terms of a move away, Crystal Palace have bid £27 million for him, which is taking a piss. That's nowhere near Chelsea's market value. It's not representative of the market value at all for Conor Gallagher. Thomas Tuchel likes him. The ownership group want to keep him as well. They see a future for him. For me, we're not really in a position, unless another midfield player is going to come in, we're not in a position to be getting rid of Conor Gallagher. The options in midfield we've got Loftus-Cheek, Jorginho, Kovacic, Kante and Gallagher. If you let Gallagher leave, whether it be permanently, which I think unlikely, a loan move, I wouldn't rule out a loan move, but if you let Gallagher go, you've got Kante and Kovacic, who are both injury prone, are going to miss large parts of the season. You've got Jorginho, who can't play every game, and then all you've got is Loftus-Cheek. So you're leaving yourself very, very short there. So even if Gallagher left on loan and that we managed to scramble another midfielder in, we're still in exactly the same place as we were. So for me, it doesn't make any sense to get rid of him. He's desperate to make a success of it at Chelsea. And I think, he will get more opportunities, but a loan move is a possibility. If he still thinks he's got an outside shot of the World Cup, then he's not going to get that at Chelsea. But yeah, I mean, your thoughts on his future, George? I mean, after having given those points, it would be madness for Chelsea to let him go with no options to come back in.
Yeah, no, there's no. I agree with there's no way that they're hitting the market value. I mean, if we're talking about Gordon going for £60 million, what Conor Gallagher has shown in his previous year deserves far more increased value than that. So I can't see Chelsea selling him on. It's just a question of whether Gallagher feels that maybe he needs to learn his trade elsewhere, and that actually, even after 2 games, he's had a moment of realization that maybe this level is too far of a step up, and that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with saying that Gallagher is a good player, a good Premier League player, but just not Chelsea standard. And that's where I sit at the moment. And it's the same fans who are desperate for these people to be given an opportunity would have absolutely slammed him if we had lost that game. And that's where I get annoyed, because I'm like, do you want success now? If so, Gallagher doesn't start for me. If you're prepared to lose games, give it time, and then win a trophy in 5 years' time or win a league in 5 years' time, by all means play Gallagher. But you can't have both. Unfortunately, there's better midfielders that we have at the club than Conor Gallagher. So what are we trying to do? Do we want to close the gap, or are we trying to build for the future? But whichever part of the fence you stand on, you need to back it. And for me, I think we wanted to close the gap. So I mean, I know we've got injury concerns at the moment. I think he's got a place in the squad, but for me, from the 2 games that I've seen, a starting place for me is just a no-go. I'm sorry. I mean,
I don't think anyone was saying he was going to be a starter. I just think he deserves regular opportunities. I think Gallagher could come good this season. But again, it's impossible to tell. He's about 100%, as I've said, as Lee's just said in the chat, Gallagher is not suited to this pivot system. So for me, he's going to find it very. I think it's it's a lot more rounded to make an argument on Conor Gallagher when we consistently see him in a position that is his natural position in terms of playing as a number 8 in a 3-man midfield. Even against Leeds in the second half, when we went to 3 in midfield, I know he wasn't amazing, but he looked a lot more comfortable just having a bit more security around him going further up the pitch. You look at what a lot of people say about Conor Gallagher, he's got to be utilised further up the pitch, and hopefully he will be. But I think he will stay at Chelsea. I can't. The only thing I could possibly see is a loan move. If very, very possible, but I'd still say unlikely, just because of the complete lack of options we've got in midfield. Plus Kante and Kovacic's injury records as well. But Gallagher definitely one to watch, potentially on a transfer, but also again, just got to have a bit of patience. I know it's easy to say, and as football fans, you get very reactionary and whatnot. I was swearing and cursing him in the stands when he got sent off. But like at the end of the day, we like every player that puts a Chelsea shirt on, I want them to do well. And particularly when they've come through the academy, they're young kids, they're a fan. There's that extra bit that, you know, you probably do allow a little bit more leeway. Maybe it slightly clouds your judgment and you might have a different opinion. If Gallagher was foreign, maybe I wouldn't be perhaps saying the same things. I mean, but yeah, I think he deserves more opportunities. But yeah, he's got to learn from this situation. But I mean, George, moving away from Conor Gallagher, we spent quite a long time on that. I've done a stream with Ben Jacobs earlier, guys, about sort of transfer news in depth. So if you want to go and check that out on the channel, please do. But we will cover some transfer news briefly. I just wanted to get your thoughts on a few things. How pleased are you that the Wesley Fofana deal is pretty much done now? Just the contracts left to be signed. He's having a second part of his medical in New York at the moment. Announcement should be midweek, and he should hopefully make his debut at home to West Ham on the weekend. How pleased are you that this saga is done, and how much of a big plus is he going to be to Chelsea going forwards?
Brilliant. Fourth big signing of the window complete, and we're really excited. I think we were quite surprised that more of the story came out before kickoff. We were suspecting that maybe they would hold fire on that, but it was very evident that he wasn't going to play, and he's no longer in Leicester's plans. And I think we said last week, didn't we, that it would be quite foolish at this point, considering problems and the recruitment that Leicester need, to reject that sort of money, because they need to reinvest it in their squad. It's quite evident that if you look at the game from Leicester's point of view, they've struggled to take down a 10-men side for an hour and haven't won the game. So it's quite a poor result for them, really, if you look at the actual game itself. So they're in trouble and they need to reinvest. So I think this is a huge win for Leicester, but also a huge win for us. I mean, we're an extra body in there. We've said it before: experienced, versatile. It's got great resale value, Premier League proven as well, as we know, so he can fit straight in. And I'm super excited for this one.
Yeah, no, I'm delighted with this signing. Can't wait to see him in a Chelsea shirt. I mean, just in regards to the medical taking place in America, that's very much down to the owners. They just, for peace of mind, they want some specialists to just check over his injury, make sure there's no issues with any of that after his. I think it was a leg break. After that, they just want to use their own. Bodie wants to use kind of doctors and surgeons or specialists, whatever that he's used before, that he knows in the States. So that's purely the only reason he's going out there for that, just for peace of mind, basically, on their behalf. So there's nothing sort of odd or anything to read into that. The medical should be concluded and Fofana should be announced this week in the midweek. But yeah, phenomenal signing. And to think he's also going to, at 21 years of age, one of the most sought after defenders in world football, and he's going to learn from the likes of Koulibaly, Thiago Silva, and even Azpilicueta as well. Despite his abilities diminishing, he's still got so much experience and knows so much about the game. So you couldn't really think of three better pros to learn from Fofana. So it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing how he develops. And the thought of him, Thiago Silva, and Koulibaly in a back three is like it's phenomenal. It's like it is. Yeah. It's one of the best defensive lines out there. It really is. So hopefully we shouldn't be conceding too many goals on that one. Matt, I just wanted to touch on the other end of the pitch quickly. The Aubameyang deal still not quite done yet. Hopeful of that being done, but there's not really too much to update on that. Another option that again has been discussed internally for a while. He's been on the famous lists that these clubs have of targets. That's Wilfried Zaha. Now, Chelsea have had contact with his agents in the last few days. Zaha is open to a move. He's got a year left on his contract. Mate, for me, this makes sense. 29 years of age, Premier League proven, versatile. Thomas Tuchel's looking for versatile forwards. Zaha can play down the middle or down either side. So as I said, Premier League experience. And it seems to be a thing at the moment that Tuchel's looking for signings predominantly of Premier League experience. Cucurella ticks those boxes. Sterling did. Obviously, there's others as well, which it's just now left my mind.
Fofana will be.
Fofana will be as well. And then looking at Zaha, Premier League proven. So, I mean, George, would a move for Wilfried Zaha with 12 months left on his contract make sense to you? I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah, mate, I like it. I think Wilfried Zaha's probably underrated because then he gets quite slated for his time at Manchester United and the fact that he didn't get that, he didn't take his opportunity and then never really found another big club despite a lot of bids coming in. He was pretty much always a transfer target for someone every single year.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt in his ability. I mean, he's Palace's only real goal threat apart from when Gallagher came, and he's always there with goals, and he's such a focal point for them. So I think they've tried to hang on for him as long as possible. But it does make sense at this point in the window. We're looking for someone who's versatile, for someone that can slot straight in. He's obviously, he's living in London at the moment as well, so that's quite an easy shoe in. And it's not bad sometimes going for a more mature player who's, a bit more grounded and doesn't really have a point to prove, but he would relish the opportunity to play for a top club again and kind of prove those doubters wrong. And I think, I personally, I really like this one. I would prefer this over Gordon, I have to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And, even though there's not a lot said on it in terms of the story at the moment, I hope things develop and we actually go down that avenue, because I'd love to see it personally.
Yeah, so would I. I hope it's not kind of a tactic to kind of force Barcelona saying, look, if you don't accept our offer for Aubameyang, we're going to go and get Wilfried Zaha. So I very much hope the interest is. I think the interest is genuine, but whether it's kind of a tactic as well to try and force Barcelona's hand a little bit. I mean, I see no reason why we can't get both of them. Why we couldn't why we couldn't spend 60? Look, it'll probably be £60 million or just over £60 million to sign Aubameyang and Zaha. I see no reason why not to sign them. Callum Hudson-Odoi is joined by Leverkusen on loan. Hakim Ziyech is on his way to Ajax. That's 2 out. We probably could do with 2 more coming in. So, I mean, it ticks a lot of boxes for me. I'd personally like to see both of them coming in, but whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But I think it's a smart option. Someone that is actually a good player, and I think he would fit well into that Thomas Tuchel system. So yeah, watch this space on that one. Chelsea still, according to some reports, looking to bring in up to 3 players before the window closes. That doesn't include Fofana. So I'm pretty certain that doesn't include Fofana. Even if it did, it's still 2 players, and the attack is a big priority. So mate, I'd watch this space. I wouldn't rule out Zaha and Aubameyang both arriving. In terms of Anthony Gordon, mate, you'll be delighted to hear that a move for him seems very unlikely.
Brilliant.
Seems very unlikely at the moment because the club's valuations are too far apart. There was no truth in, yes, Everton have an interest in Conor Gallagher and Armando Broja, but Chelsea aren't prepared to let those players leave. So it's that report that was doing the rounds of 25 million plus both of them was a nonsense, not true. But yeah, the clubs are basically too far apart in valuation. And Ben Jacobs was telling me that his Chelsea sources were telling him that not once did Chelsea say they were going to pay £60 million for Anthony Gordon. Not really sure where that's come from, but he was saying that his Chelsea sources were telling him that Chelsea not only haven't bid £60 million for Anthony Gordon, it's not even been discussed that they would even do that. So I'm not really sure where that sort of things come from. But yeah, the Gordon thing as it stands now seems very, very unlikely. A lot can change in football transfers from day to day, particularly as we tick down towards the deadline. But Anthony Gordon as it stands today seems very, very unlikely to happen. Too far apart in evaluation the clubs are, which I think is fair at the moment. And Anthony Gordon's one of them where at 21, it's probably better for him to stay at Everton anyway, develop his game for a few more years, push on as a pro, play regular first-team football, and then this won't be the last chance for him to get a move. And again, Chelsea could also say to him, future planning and that, do you know what? We like you, we're interested in you. Keep playing well, stay here for another couple of seasons and wait for us and we'll come back in for you. There's also that trail of thought as well, that you're not just kind of planting the seed. Now you're planting the seed for a few windows time. But as it stands, an Anthony Gordon deal seems very unlikely, which I think, no disrespect to the lad, I think a lot of Chelsea fans will be delighted with that deal is looking very unlikely at the moment. George, very quickly though, in terms of outgoings, obviously Callum Hudson-Odoi has joined Leverkusen. Quick thoughts on that, very briefly. I think it's a great move for him. Go to Germany, new country, new league, gets to play Champions League football, regular first-team football. It's exactly what he needs, isn't it?
Yeah, there's not a lot I can add to that. I think we said, it's good for him for his development to play first-team football, prove a point. He's too talented to be sitting on the bench for Chelsea. Yeah. I think he needs to go and, update his craft and really learn from something else. And I think a new league and a new, challenge for him will be really beneficial, not to just by Leverkusen, not just to him, but to us as well. Come back as a better all-rounded footballer and but yeah, I think the loan suits us because I think he's got a great future at Chelsea should he decide to stay long term.
Yeah, and I think the crucial thing as well, and you could look at this obviously two ways, is that the reason for the hold up was the fact that Leverkusen wanted a buy option in there. Chelsea didn't want any options to buy in there. Now you can look at this two ways. You can look at it from Chelsea thinking if he goes to Germany and has a really good season, that boosts his transfer value, and we don't want a cheap buy option in there. Or you could look at it and think actually Chelsea still really value Callum Hudson-Odoi, rate him highly, and they want to see how he does after that loan season. You can look at it both ways, but I think it's a key point that, you know, there's no option in there to buy. And in terms of Hakim Ziyech, obviously Anthony's gone to Manchester United. Ziyech obviously represents himself, doesn't got any agents. He's been in negotiations with Ajax. Chelsea want to sell permanently. Ajax obviously got 100 million euros now from Manchester United for Anthony. Chelsea wanting, you know, best part of 25, 30 million pounds, which I think they're right to demand, because seeing as Ajax obviously plush with a bit of cash now, and Ziyech is still holds good value for me. Obviously we're not going to perhaps get as much as we bought him for, but Ajax also only want him on a loan potentially as well. I mean, George, do you think Ziyech has got to go permanently, or would you be on board with a loan deal?
I think at this stage it's whatever gets him out, really. Obviously, ideally, we'd like him out permanently because I don't think he has a future at Chelsea Football Club. But it's not always easy, and you never know. We have said that there's a player in there, and you know if he does go on loan back to again, I don't think it proves much if he goes back there and does really well, because I think it's a league that's got such lower ambition and, you know, not as much quality in there, so he can thrive there. But again, do we want to keep a player that's unhappy on the books? You know, at all. So if a loan's the only option, then perhaps with the time ticking away, might be just best suited for him to just go by any means.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think, you know, ultimately he wants to leave, so if he can't get the permanent, then I think then the loan will have to suffice for now. There's no point keeping someone that's clearly surplus to requirements and doesn't want to be at the club. Raymond, no, Ziyech is not a bad player at all, but it just hasn't really worked out for him at Chelsea. I think he's very technically gifted. I think he probably is he's probably technically our best forwards in terms of technique and obviously, you know, I think he's got a lot to offer, and he's someone that can, you know, pick out a key pass and whatnot. I do rate him. I do think it's good, but I just don't. It just hasn't worked out for him at Chelsea for one reason or another. Yes, he looked a lot better when you play three up front, like a 4-3-3 system. He looked comfortable on that right hand side, but again, we don't really tend to play that. I just think he's a little bit lightweight for the Premier League as well. He's definitely a good player, but it just hasn't really quite worked out. I mean, yeah, Martin, I agree that it's a bit of a shame, but he did have opportunities, but yeah, the managers have never quite fancied him. He did sort of have a few purple patches here and there where he went on a run of a few games doing well, but ultimately it's just not worked out. And I think it's probably best for both parties to part way. And George, just rounding out the transfer news, mate, talking of parties that have parted way, Ross Barkley is no longer a Chelsea player. Mutual termination of the contract to finish it early. He can now sign wherever he wants as a free agent. Your thoughts on that? I think for me personally, fair play to Ross. You know, he's come in, he's done okay when he first came here. Surplus to requirements quite clearly a while back, but never once did he make a fuss or moan about things. He got his head down. He just got on with it, and he could have easily sat on the bench, or well, he was not even making the bench, but not, you know, just turn up to training, pick up his wages. But he's left early. And yeah, fair play to him for that. But the right decision, really, isn't it, mate?
Yeah, he didn't want to turn into a Danny Drinkwater and stay there any longer. I feel like he's still got something in the Premier League to give, albeit only a couple of years. But very, very talented footballer. There's no doubt there's a talented football in there. But you know, and I don't blame him for taking the opportunity to join a big club like Chelsea. But I think again, it just hasn't worked out for him. The step up in class is too much. Still, can he be trusted, you know, responsibly to hold out games or to do his defensive roles? He's a bit of a luxury player to come on when you're 3-4-0 up and just to have a bit of a go, but he's not really a game changer. So, you know, I think professionalism, top class. I mean, again, we don't know him personally. I know he likes a night out. He was caught out.
Yeah, his behaviour on loan wasn't exemplary. But at Chelsea, he's been pretty much spot on.
You know, you think of all the players that cause a fuss and kick up a stink when they're not playing football, and he's just got on with it. And you know, I think it's a shame he didn't do more, but I think we all knew when he was coming in, it was a bit outrageous that he was coming in for that kind of, price tag and coming in. I don't think Conte wanted him.
No.
And he's kind of just been that player that managers have just, none of them have really fancied him. So,
No.
yeah, I think it's a good decision. Better to do it now than when it's too late in his career and being like Danny Drinkwater where he regrets it, because I think he could still turn it around, get some sort of first team. He could definitely fit in a first team in the Premier League. I've got absolutely no doubts about that.
Premier League clubs have been looking at him, as of Celtic and Rangers as well. So there's definitely suitors for Ross Barkley, but it's the right thing to do. And mate, the Todd father is coming in doing a madness, signing players all over the place, terminating contracts. This is the sort of stuff we should have been doing ages ago. Terminating contracts of players that are so clearly surplus to requirements. Just get rid of them. Even if you have to pay them off, just do it. And I think Kennedy, Batshuayi, you boys are up next. The Todd fathers coming. Need to get rid of these, man. Honestly, just get rid of them. Just pay off their contracts. Get rid of them. They're not going to play for Chelsea, so just get rid of these guys. But yeah, guys, we're going to move on to Southampton now. Before we do that, 75 of us in here. Good numbers for a Monday night. So please do smash the likes. Get those likes up, people. There's nowhere near enough likes for the amount of you tuning in. So please smash that thumb button. It would really help us out. And please do subscribe to the channel as well. We are only 10 subscribers, I think, away from 1.5K. So let's get to that during this stream. 10 of you people in here, I'm sure, aren't subscribed. So please subscribe to the channel. Let's get to that 1.5K mark. It would be greatly appreciated. But George, moving on to Southampton tomorrow, midweek game away at St Mary's. Obviously, last season, we won there 6-0. It'll be a totally different game this time around. What are your expectations going into tomorrow? As I said at the top of the show, we haven't lost for 10 years in the league at St Mary's. What are your thoughts going into it? An away game? Away form is decent enough. Are you expecting a tough game?
It's going to be a tough game, but I always fancy us away from home for the reasons that I think limit us to Stamford Bridge. I think teams tend to come out a little bit more. The pitch is a bit wider. There's a sense of expectation that's not lowered, but it's different. I think they can express themselves a little bit more, as you've always got kind of the home team as the advantage. Southampton not playing well. I think if my football knowledge is correct, we lost there from a Ricky Lambert free kick. I think that was probably the last one that we lost. I think we lost 1-0.
That's a long time ago, isn't it?
Someone in the chat, see if they can figure it out. But I think it was 1-0 Ricky Lambert free kick. But I mean, we've got a great record there. They're not playing well at the moment again, so I think it's an opportunity for us. And I know I said that against Leeds, thinking that we would be slightly more expansive and have the freedom with the space in behind and on the counter attack, but I think it was still a big turning point against Leicester to get the win after an hour with 10 men, despite perhaps not playing still as well as we can do. And hopefully, we'll get more for Cobber. He'll get more of a game, and hopefully, I do expect 3 points tomorrow.
Yeah, I got just this from Nick Knack. You won't be giving us a good game on Wednesday, mate, because the game's tomorrow night. So there'll be no good game Wednesday, that's for sure. I think that's what you meant. But yeah, if you're going to the game, or you think Southampton are playing Wednesday, you're not playing Wednesday. It's tomorrow night. You're playing Tuesday. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see because again, this is kind of the first quick turnaround of games really of this season. We've had 7 days to prepare for the first 3 or 4 games. Now, it's a couple days turnaround. Do you think this could be the first? Obviously, we're getting to the lineup shortly, but are you expecting a bit of rotation, mate? Obviously, a lot more physical exertion than normal on Saturday, given the fact we played 70 minutes with 10 men. A lot of players looked down and out on the ground. They looked pretty fucked, understandably. Do you think we could see quite a bit of rotation from Tuchel?
Definitely. I think you could see we were absolutely exhausted. I mean, last ditch energy on Saturday. It was hot as well. Lots of added on time as well, which was ridiculous. And we were on our last legs. We were defending for absolute, tooth and nail to get the 3 points. So I think there will be some rotation. You could even see, Thiago Silva a few times on the floor, just regathering his breath.
Yeah, mate, he's getting a lot of cramp.
Yeah, and he's going to be 38, I believe, next week. So that's incredible, really. But yeah, I expect rotation. Obviously, Gallagher's not going to play. He's suspended. Trying to think who else might be unavailable. Kante,
still miles away. Kante, that's it. I think it's everyone's available except Kante and Gallagher.
Yeah, but I do think this is a good opportunity for rotation, and being a bigger club than a team like Southampton, I think it favours us that we are able to do that because we have got strength in depth. I do think we do, and so yeah, I do expect some.
Right, well, mate, let's get straight into the lineup, guys. In the chat, let us know your thoughts on the lineup as well. What you think, what you would do, whether you think it'll be this system as well, mate. I've set this up as a back five system. We saw the back four against Leicester at the weekend.
Yeah.
Mate, do you think we're going to see the back four again, or do you think it was very much circumstantial? My only question is, like, do you think we're going to rest Thiago Silva? Because if we rest Thiago Silva, that could potentially hinge on whether we actually play a back three or a back four. I feel. I mean, what are you thinking?
I mean, if we can play a back five, I don't see why he would change it. But I really do think Thiago Silva is going to be rested for this one.
Well, save him for West Ham.
I've just got a hunch just because of the way he kind of coming down with a few bits of cramp. Really we were right back up against it for a large period of the game because we were down to 10 men. He started every game since. I don't know. I mean, he's our best defender. I mean, just again watching him on Saturday,
it's phenomenal. It's a joke.
I mean,
mate, I remember at the time, mate. You weren't convinced, mate.
Mate, I'm not convinced by anyone who decides a career path at PSG. To be quite honest with you, that is probably the biggest one I've got wrong in my life. I'd say. I think I said he was toss.
Mate, that's embarrassing now looking back.
But no, people get better with age. I mean, a lot of people slated David Luiz, and he had 2 incredible seasons at Chelsea and showed his class. I mean, I still don't think Thiago Silva has played as well for PSG as he does in so far. I think his Chelsea career has actually been his best of his career.
Yeah.
And it's come late, but my God, we're reaping the rewards of it. But anyway, we're off track.
So mate, let's stick with the back five.
Stick with it. But I think personally, he'll be. It's just a hunch, so we could just put him in for argument's sake. But
I've got a couple of ideas.
I'm surprised you're not discussing. I'm surprised you're not discussing the goalkeeper though.
Well, I'm going to discuss it now, mate. I've put him between the sticks, and we can discuss it. I'd stick with Mendy. Yes, distribution not so good on the weekend, but he kept us in the game.
I thought,
he did, mate. The way that he closed down those Vardy one-on-ones, he made some good saves. For me, the goal, yes, it's easy to criticise a keeper for getting beaten at the near post. But if you watch that goal back, it's a bullet shot from Barnes. It comes so quick. There's not an awful lot he can do. Aspie gets absolutely skinned for the goal in the first place. He's done enough for me to get another opportunity. George, you obviously think differently, mate. You wouldn't pick him tomorrow?
I would just like a little bit of a chat. I think again, you watch the goal and he's umming and ahhing where to hit it, and his distribution for they win the ball in the air. Granted, there's a lot of stuff that happens after that as well, but it did come from him. It was a poor ball out. I can't remember if it was a goal kick or just a ball in play that he kind of tried to kick away, and it ended up way short, and that's where they won it back. Because we were exposed then. They did a quick 1-2, didn't they? And Barnes put it away. Got beaten at the near post. I don't know. I just feel like there's a bit of complacency with him at the moment. Like a few of the players who just know that their positions are a bit safe, and that's why they're making these errors. And I think if you're going to do it away to a team that's also struggling. I mean, it's a bold. And that's only a personal decision. I don't believe he will be dropped.
No.
I mean, I would like to see it just to see if Kepa could do anything about it. But
but we'll go Mendy in goal. Mate, that's. I think we both feel that Thiago Silva should be rested. So, I mean, Tuchel confirming in a press conference today that Koulibaly is definitely playing. On the presumption that we feel that Silva should get a rest, are you very much putting Koulibaly into that central centre-back position, mate?
I think he's the only one that can go there, unless he goes Koulibaly, Chalobah,
and Cucurella.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, would you play Koulibaly in? He's the obvious one to take that central centre back role, isn't he?
Yeah. I play it because if you look, you can't put Cucurella there, you can't put James there, you can't put
Chalobah central.
Well, not could, really, but
you wouldn't really want to.
No. So I think he's the commanding figure who would basically just take over Silva's role. And it's a big ask for him if he plays there tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's also important that he bounces back after what was a poor performance against Leeds. He looks rash, etc. It's important for him now. This is a big game for Koulibaly after that red card. He's really got to have a solid game, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, as much as we criticised Gallagher for that red card, his one was idiocy as well. I mean,
Yeah,
I think the only thing that he got away with is that perhaps he's just not used to the pace at all, and he thinks
yeah,
that he
he
can get
did
away
look
with.
caught out. Yeah,
Yeah, he's not quite there with his touch and picking up the play, particularly when he's having to defend without the ball. But it does take time. It's the fastest league in the world for sure, and but he has got a point to prove, particularly if Silva is out tomorrow and he's rested. He's got to take that kind of leadership role through his experience of his age and playing in the way he does. So I'll be watching him very closely tomorrow.
yeah, but I think he goes into that central centre back position for sure.
Yeah,
Mate, right, we saw Trevor Chalobah come in at the weekend for his first
great
game of
job.
the season. I felt he did really well. Just one
So
poor bit where he was caught out by Vardy in that
yeah,
second half when Vardy went through. But otherwise, I thought Chalobah had a very solid game. We know Tuchel likes using Aspie. Aspie come on at half time and went to a 3 at the back. For me, mate, I'd stick with Chalobah at right centre back. That's personally my choice. Don't think there's anything to warrant being dropped. So I'd continue with him. Would you be happy to continue? Would you choose to continue with Chalobah at right centre back over Aspie?
yeah, I agree. I thought he did really well, and it was funny, wasn't it? Because we were discussing about him possibly not getting the opportunities and leaving Chelsea, and then all of a sudden we saw the lineup that he was starting, and I thought he took it well, like you said. Just the one where he kind of ducked out a little bit wasn't forceful enough, and he kind of tried to buy a foul just lying on the floor, but did get caught out in a 50-50. And but other than that, I thought he was quite solid actually. So I think he does warrant a start.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think he does. And George, moving to left centre back, Ben, you'd have to say that it'll be Mark Cucurella continuing there. Oh, not continuing there,
Yeah.
but to take that slot. I know it's not his natural position, but he can play there. Just how impressed have you been with him? He's come in, he's started I think he started 3 of the 4 games. So what do you think of him? He's registered a couple of assists, 3 starts out of the 4 games. He looks really at home here. How impressed have you been by his start?
Really impressed. Really impressed. And I actually had no doubts. I think he's been highly rated, even though he's only had a year previous experience at Brighton. I think he's been excellent, and asked to do something completely different as well. We forget a lot more of a defensive role for him. He's got more responsibility, and we were up against it at the weekend, and he really kind of dug deep and got onto it, and also was happy to go forward. So I think he's only going to get better, and I expect him to play well again tomorrow. So I've got no doubts about him playing there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think Cucurella deserves to play there. MJ saying that Cucurella should be kept at his main spot. It's a mistake to play him. I don't think it's a mistake to play him there. I think with Chilwell covering on that left side, it should be ample cover. The other option is obviously, Chalobah could play left centre back, not really that good at it, and Aspie comes in, or you go with a 4. But again, I'm not sure how I feel about Koulibaly and Chalobah as a centre back partnership in a 4 if Silva's going to be rested. So yeah, we'll go with that. George, right wing back. Sorry, obvious choice. Reece James. No, not really a debate to be had there. How impressed were you with him at the weekend? By the way, I thought it was phenomenal.
Oh mate, he's such a thrill. He's such a joy to watch, isn't he?
Mate,
Him and Thiago Silva.
He's miles clear of Trent. I don't even want anyone.
I
don't even want anyone trying to even have that conversation with me. He's clear of Trent. There's levels to the game, mate, and Reece James is at the top level. Trent can't defend. Reece James has got it all.
Right, it was what I was saying to someone in our private chat about Gary Neville, like such an average footballer.
No, but mate, but it's completely changed the game, though.
Yeah, but I'm saying players get masked because of what the team's achieving. So obviously Liverpool have been on this like astronomical, like unbelievable points total, winning leagues, and Trent's been great.
But then there's that old saying: you're only as good as what's around you, and if you play with better players, you're going to look better.
Yeah, so James doesn't get the credit as same as with Mount and Phil Foden because he's not in that City team. Like if Mount was playing in the City team, there would be no arguments.
Foden's PR machine is in overdrive, mate.
I just think James just doesn't get the credit because Chelsea, apart from the Champions League, haven't really done a title challenge or come close to the big 2, so he just gets overlooked. But I mean, how if he doesn't start for England now? I mean,
oh mate, really it's criminal. It would be criminal. Yeah,
unbelievable.
He definitely slots in there. It's an absolute no-brainer. But George, left-hand side would be a big night for Ben Chilwell tomorrow night. Even if we were to play a 4, I think I'd still play Chile. He's been out the side for the last couple of games. Got a few minutes at the end against Leicester. Quite hard to make a judgment on him from that. But it's important that he gets big minutes in the tank tomorrow night as he rebuilds towards match fitness, rebuilds to the top of his game. this is important. This is an important evening for him tomorrow, isn't it? I mean, I would have played him regardless, even if we were playing a back four. I would have played him at left back, because that's the whole point of having competition in the squad, is that you can rest players and you can bring in someone of equal quality or better quality in Chilwell. So George, would you start Chilwell tomorrow night? And how important is this game for him tomorrow?
It's a big game for him tomorrow, but I would start him. But my only hunch is perhaps he won't, because I was surprised at how lack of minutes he got last weekend. I know it was circumstantial.
We got what, 10 minutes, did he? A bit less?
Probably less, and I thought he would probably get a bit more. So I don't know whether the club still feel he needs more time before he's given another start. I don't know, but if this is our team and we would play him, so I think that's a great setup at the back. Got to be honest.
Yeah, mate, I'm not going to look at that. To be fair, Silva could do with the rest. That's looking all right. I'm happy with that. Midfield, mate. This is where we've basically, with what we've gone with, we've essentially got two options. Jorginho is going to have to play.
Yeah.
We'll start with him first, mate. He's obviously going to play. It's not really much of a discussion to have, but simple, really. No discussion really had about that. And then it's going to be with no Conor Gallagher. Kovacic definitely not fit to start. You could tell when he came on the weekend. He might be fit for half an hour this time, but it's going to be Loftus-Cheek in there as well. Mate, what do you make of Loftus-Cheek and Jorginho as a midfield pairing in that pivot?
It's not our strongest, but I do like Loftus-Cheek. Again, I don't think he had a terrible game.
I think he's done really well this season.
Yeah, and I think playing alongside Jorginho might allow him to go slightly more forward and be a bit more experimental, knowing that Jorginho is probably able to cover him. And then you'd expect Loftus-Cheek to do all the physical, chasing work, and Jorginho just to kind of read the game a little bit better and sit. Could work, but it's obviously not ideal. It's been forced upon, but I think Loftus-Cheek's had a really good start to the season.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with him. I mean, just at the weekend as well, mate. I mean, the way he runs with the ball, like he's such an athlete. Like he's a specimen. He's so big, he's so strong, he's powerful, but yet he's so good with the ball at his feet. My only criticism of Ruben is that he doesn't shoot enough.
Yeah,
he'll get into positions to have a shot, and he just won't do it. But I've been really impressed with his start to the season. But George, it's a bit worrying, isn't it, that with Kante out injured for at least another month, Gallagher suspended, Kovacic not fit to start, probably fit to play half an hour, that we've basically got two options in midfield, and that's it. That's a bit of a concern, isn't it?
Well, it's a massive concern, considering this early on in the season as well, because we know that Kovacic and Kante are going to pick up injuries throughout the course of the season. It's not just going to be this one. You'd hope that we'd perhaps maybe add someone else in that midfield. I highly doubt it in this window now. And that was why, we haven't discussed it today, but that was why I was crying out on the private chat for Billy Gilmour to be given an opportunity as well. But for whatever reason,
he's just not rated. He's not rated.
No, he's not rated. And again, we have to stand by Tuchel's decision that he's not, and that's fair enough. But I think he would have been someone that could have perhaps taken an opportunity. But yeah, it's a little bit concerning. I mean, I know you could try and, if you got really desperate, Mount could pull back.
I don't know about Mount in a pivot though. That's
no, not in that. You'd have to change the system. But
you have to change the system,
yeah, but it's not ideal, mate. Especially.
Well, I mean, if you change the system to a 3, then you'd obviously you'd have Jorginho or Ruben at the base with you'd have Jorginho at the base with Loftus-Cheek and Mount as the number 8, the more advanced.
Yeah.
That is a potential option, but with the system we're going with, that is the only choice we've got, basically. Guys, by the way, big up everyone in the chat. MJ, Kovacic is not fit to start, so he won't be starting. Sav, big up. Thanks for tuning in. Interesting to see if you think Mount should be dropped. In my opinion, he should. Yep, that is correct. We're going to come on to that now. George, the front 3. Let's just start with it, mate. Someone who is a definite shoe-in, and I'm going to put him on the right-hand side, Raheem Sterling. The shining light in the Chelsea attack, 2 goals at the weekend, the difference maker is what we signed him to do. He's a shoe-in to start, isn't he, for you?
Yeah, I think people in the crowd were getting a little bit frustrated that, he was he wasn't really given much support in the first half and having to try and find little gaps, but he found it in the end. And even the second one, we so lack that person with that vision to just arrive in the box and just anticipate.
Yeah. Mate, the amount of times we put the ball in the box and there's no one fucking there.
Yeah, it's actually baffling. But he anticipated it. He knew that James was carrying the ball, so let's just gamble, get in the 6-yard box, see what happens. And sure enough, he's got an easy tap in, and that is, and the first goal is just great. What you love to see from Sterling, cutting inside on his right foot. opening up his body.
I still couldn't tell. I can't tell if it was deflected or not. I mean, I couldn't tell in the stadium at the time, and then I've watched it back, and I still can't really tell if it was a deflection or not.
It looks like it just because of the flight and the power the power kind of slows down as he takes it. I can't. It looks almost like a chip, which it wouldn't happen with the side of the foot, but you earn your luck at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's the one player that has changed our front three with that little bit of spark and creativity, and he was still good to watch. Every time he has the ball, you just expect something to happen, and that's what you need.
No, 100%, man. It's so refreshing to have an attacker that actually runs at players and with the ball and takes them on. But getting on to Mason Mount, mate, he's benched for me. He's on the bench. I love Mason Mount. I think he's a great footballer, but this season he has not delivered. He's had 4 starts, and against Tottenham he was okay. I didn't think he was too bad. The rest of the games, mate, he's been shocking, and there's got to be accountability. And I think for him, he needs to be benched for a couple of games. He needs to realise that his position in the team for me is too safe. He's got to realise that you can't perform like shit for 3-4 games on the spin and expect to still be picked. I think he's got to be benched, but I think he needs a bit of a reality check in terms of, his form's not been there. For me, he should be benched. His output's not there. Like the performance in general's not there at the moment. And he needs to be benched and someone else needs to be given an opportunity, because right now Mount's not doing it and he doesn't deserve to be in the lineup at all.
I completely agree with you. Again, very disappointed at the weekend that, again, I probably couldn't have told you what he was doing or what he
was literally anonymous in that first half. Didn't even know he was on the pitch.
Yeah, and I was the same. I think the only thing that players are getting away with, like I said at the top of the show, is complacency. And what else does Thomas Tuchel? What do you drop him out to replace him with? It's better. So I think, again, I hate to say it, but I probably expect Mount to be on this team sheet tomorrow, just because of his what else have we got that's perhaps better? Because if Mason Mount does turn up, he's probably better than any of the front three that we've got other than Sterling. But you're right. I think in terms of form, if you're looking at form-wise, he does need a reality check and realise that actually, great last season, winning the Champions League, on top of the world, but actually he hasn't performed well enough to start.
No, I totally agree.
It's our team, so let's take him out.
But like you, mate, I fully expect to see his name on the team sheet tomorrow. I just think he will. He's a Portsmouth lad. He normally scores against Southampton. He'll be bang up for it. But I personally in our team wouldn't start him at all. So I'm going Sterling on that right-hand side. We agree on that. Mate, I think Pulisic on the left-hand side for me.
When he came on, to be fair.
I think he deserves an opportunity from the start, given the fact that we stuck with the likes of Havertz and Mount for 4 games on the spin and they've delivered basically fuck all. Pulisic deserves to have an opportunity. And I think this could be a good game for him to be given a run out and show what he can do. Mate, would you agree? Would you stick Pulisic down this left-hand side?
Yeah, totally agree. I think
he's surprised by the lack of opportunities that he's been given. I know he's come off the bench a few times, but he's not exactly been given a lot of opportunity, has he?
No, but I don't know if there's something going on off the pitch. It's clear that he probably wants a way out if possible, but he's probably said he's happy to stay if nothing materialises or we don't get the value for him, and that's probably what's happened. Don't think anyone's willing to take him for what we value him.
It's too late now as well, really.
Too late. So he's probably just said that I'll get my head down. And I thought he did all right when he came on. Impact down the right-hand side. And again, very talented boy, just, can't seem to put it together. And there's always a risk with Pulisic when you start him that he's made of glass. So, is that a player that you're going to have to sub and have a forced substitution early in the game? It's, but I think he does deserve an opportunity, 100%.
I think he does. He does as well. And talking of opportunities, by the way, guys,
bloody hell.
There's 100 of us in here now, so please keep smashing those likes, guys. Get those likes up. Nowhere near enough likes still on the stream. I mean, I still haven't quite reached that 1.5k mark. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. We're about 7 or 8 away. So guys, if there's 7 or 8 of you in here that haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel and get us to that 1.5k mark. We would really, really appreciate it. Vassell, yes, I would agree with that. Mount gets a lot of opportunities. Pulisic needs his opportunity. Pulisic does need his opportunity, for sure. Hudson-Odoi's in Germany, so he won't play. And Ziyech, I don't think he'll start him either. George, Kai Havertz, for me, got to be having a stint on the bench. This season has been terrible, in my opinion. All right, in the 2 games that people say that he's done well, Tottenham and this one against Leicester, the guy's just kind of just run about, basically. He's been being like For me, mate, is the bar so low for someone to play centre forward at Chelsea that we're praising them for running around? Is this the standards that we've got at Chelsea Football Club, that you're praised and it's a good performance because you ran about and you put yourself about a little bit? All right, off the ball stuff's important, but as a forward, it's one of the, you're judged on what you do on the ball. Like, this guy is shit on the ball. He's not contributing. Link-up plays poor. He's not contributing any goals. He's not contributing assists. He's not offering anything at the top end of the pitch. He has to have a stint on the bench. There's just no way that he can keep being picked and keep playing, because he's just putting in poor performance after poor performance. There's got to be some level of accountability here. We've got a young lad in Brozier, for me, who needs to start tomorrow night. He needs to be given an opportunity. I was really surprised that we didn't even use the 5 subs on the weekend against Leicester, and he didn't come on and get an opportunity. So hopefully he can get an opportunity back at Southampton, where he was on loan last season. I think this would be a good game for Brozier to start. But mate, Havertz has got to have a stint on the bench. I'm fed up with it now. We're praising him for just fucking running about.
Yeah, totally agree with you. Again, your post-match analysis after the game with Chelsea Fan TV, I thought was spot on. So again, if anyone hasn't watched that, it's a couple of videos below on the channel. But like you said, mate, running around, it's a minimum requirement. It's an expectation that you shouldn't be rewarded for, oh, you've done a bit of running. And to be honest, he was, like you said, mate, he was on his arse half the game trying to win fouls.
That's what he was doing, on his arse, trying to win fouls. Yeah,
some of them he did get fouled, and he didn't get. And the referee, I thought, again, had a shocking game at the weekend. But I just don't think he knows what he is. I don't think Chelsea know what he is. He just can't impact a game. I think for a defence who look at him on as an opposition player on a team sheet, just think we've got quite an easy afternoon. And sometimes there's nothing wrong with playing a mystery curveball. I don't think Southampton would be prepared. They don't know what Brozier is, so it could work in our favour that there's an unknown quantity on the pitch. They're not sure how to deal with him. I think with Havertz, it's just so easy to have a kind of a tactic and a system where you just, back to goal. I don't even think you need to mark him. I think he's that poor. Even when he gets the opportunities, he had one chance where he kind of broke through and he took the heaviest touch of all.
Oh, mate, the touch was ridiculous. It was so bad.
And it was literally like him and one other defender. And he had one option to the right, one to the left. Just had to either pass it or carry on. And he did neither. And it's embarrassing. The crowd are just getting fed up with him now. You can sense it every time he's on the ball, just so much abuse. And he needs to take accountability. Again, I probably expect his name on the team sheet, but
well, so do I, mate.
I'd love to see Brozier. I'd just love to see some unknown quantity come on the pitch and see what he's got.
We just need something different. And at the end of the day, Tuchel's a fan of Brozier. The board like Brozier. They stopped him from leaving. If Brozier's seeing Havertz dropping 1 out of 10 performances every week for the last 4 weeks, and he still can't get an opportunity, what sort of a message is that sending to him? Like, he might think, do you know what? Actually, I might move on. Even if Aubameyang comes in, what does that mean for Brozier? I still personally wouldn't rule out Brozier leaving the club before the window closes. Maybe not on a permanent, but I could see him going out on loan again somewhere, because if Aubameyang comes in, if Zaha comes in, if someone else ends up coming in, this is pushing Brozier further down the pecking order. So I wouldn't completely rule out him leaving, but definitely, mate, I agree. Tomorrow, Brozier has got to start. But yeah, guys, that's our team. To be fair, mate, it looks pretty decent on paper. George, just quickly before we get to the score prediction, last thing, mate, are you concerned at all about Southampton tomorrow? Any threats you see? Obviously, Ward-Prowse from set plays is obviously it's tricky. We've struggled with defending set plays at the moment. We seem to be getting caught out a little bit there. But do you see Southampton posing any threats?
Chet Adams, possibly.
Adams, maybe. Aribo's not too bad. The new guy from Rangers up front as well. They've got a few decent players, but are you expecting much of a threat other than Ward-Prowse?
Not really. I think set plays are where they're dangerous, aren't they, with the delivery? I think Ward-Prowse is one of the best at doing it. So no silly fouls in and around the box, please. But no, I think Southampton, they play nice football, but I think they're a bit of a moment side. I think Hassan Hutl's going through a tough moment, and I do expect Chelsea, despite whatever lineup it is, I expect Chelsea that confidence to now that huge win at home to Leicester was a bit of a confidence boost, and I expect that to take on back-to-back wins. I'm hoping for.
Yeah, no, fair, mate. I would agree, mate. To round out then, score prediction for tomorrow night. I got it. I was spot on in the Leicester. I think I said 2-1 in the Leicester preview. I'm pretty certain I did. So I was right then. I'm going to go 2-1 was right, so I'm going to stick with a winning formula. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win. What are your thoughts tomorrow night, St Mary's?
Yeah, I still think we'll concede tomorrow.
I think we will as
Especially
well.
especially if like Koulibaly's back in, Thiago Silva's not in. It's just too many changes. Um, because we're away, I feel like we have the opportunity to score more. I'm going to go 3-1. Let's try and break with three tomorrow.
3-1,
I
mate.
know it's a big ask because
It's a big ask, that.
But I think if we go with the team that we put out, I expect Chelsea to be a bit of an unknown quantity tomorrow. So I'm hoping that we can just go out and express ourselves. 3-1.
Yeah, fair. To be fair, as long as we get 3 points and win, I don't really care what the score is. But let's see how we get on. But yeah, guys, seems like a good point to round out. Thank you so much for all of you that have tuned in. Thanks so much for getting involved in the chat. We really enjoy interacting with you. On your way out, guys, please do smash the likes. Get those likes up. Please smash that like button on the way out. And guys, we need 3 of you to subscribe on your way out to hit the 1.5k. There's still over 50 of us in here right now. So 3 of you lovely people or more. That's preferable and welcome. Please do smash that subscribe button on the way out. We need 3 of you to do it to reach that 1.5k mark. So please do that. It's been a great stream tonight. Really enjoyed it. Thanks everyone for getting involved. George, cheers for your time, mate. Guys, we will be back possibly tomorrow after the game, if not on Wednesday with a match reaction to the Southampton game. And until then, guys, take care. Up the Chelsea. Smash the like. Subscribe on your way out. And we'll catch you in the next day or so.